I started this shawl about 4 years ago, but for a number of reasons, I just didn't finish it until recently. Because I started this project ages ago, I don't have any footage of me starting or anything in the beginning, so this is just me finishing up the whole thing. This pattern is the Haruni shawl on Ravelry, which I'll link to in the description. It's a gorgeous and wildly popular pattern, and it's free too, so if you're looking to try your hand at lace knitting, you really can't go wrong with this one. I added a couple of repeats to this, so this shawl is bigger than the finished outcome would be if you were to knit the pattern the way it's written. These needles are circular needles, which are two needle tips that get screwed onto a flexible cable. Apart from being fun to wiggle around, they're great for tubes and for big projects that would get too bulky for regular needles. It's a pretty straightforward pattern, but you can see here that I did something wrong, and I got confused about it. I couldn't figure out what it was that I did, so I ended up pulling that whole little section apart and knitting it back up to where it was. I did this twice because I don't have any common sense. What happened was that both times I ended up dropping the same stitch, and this wouldn't have been a problem if I'd been paying attention. Moral of the story? Don't knit while tired. I love finishing off a row because you get to stop and stare and admire what you've done so far. Is that just me? Probably not. After a pointless tea break, it's time to turn it over and work on the purl row. This is a really basic row. There's no increasing or decreasing to worry about. You just purl all the way across. The only thing you have to worry about is accidentally dropping a stitch. Can you tell that I do that constantly? I've always wondered what this looks like to other people. From what I can tell, it just looks like fingers. It could be because I'm left-handed and I hold things funny. It works for me, but wow, this looks terrible and I'm sorry you have to see it. And then it's back to a knit row. Does this look better from this view? Please let me know if this looks better. I've made myself self-conscious about it now. This purl row is my final row. All that's left to do after this is to cast off. This shawl calls for a crochet cast off, or it used to at least. You can do whatever you want. I'm doing a crochet cast off because it's somewhat straightforward. My brain understands it, but my fingers do not. I personally don't like crochet. My hands don't understand how it works, but at least I'm trying. I'm using this little... I don't actually know what you call it. I call it a whoopsie hook. Anyway, I use the hook end to chain the stitches, and then I just turn it around and use the other end as a knitting needle. And it's done. Mostly done. It still needs to be washed because, think about it, it's been in and out of my hands for years now, and that's kinda gross. I'm just snipping off the loose ends of yarn here and there before it gets to soak in a bowl of water. Look how gross this water is. It's terrible. After it's been soaked and rinsed, it's time to roll it up into a towel. This helps wring out some of the excess water without damaging the wool or stretching the stitches too much. And after towel time comes blocking. I'm stretching the damp shawl out with blocking wires and pins so that it'll dry into the exact shape that I want. This helps to show off the lace design and to keep it from looking strange and lumpy. And that, my friends, is the end of that. I'm fairly happy with how this all turned out. The beads I used are really too small for what I was trying to do, so even though they are shiny, they don't show up as much as I'd have liked. I had to use tiny beads because the woman at the yarn shop I went to insisted that beads could not be used in knitting, so I had to go find a bead shop, and this was the best choice they had. I hope you liked this video. Hopefully I'll see you back around on this side of the internet. But yeah, thank you.